Hey guys, I just wanted to give a big shout out to Anchor. Now that it's my second year of podcasting, I thought you all should know that I've only used Anchor to record all of my podcasts. And if you haven't heard about Anchor, it's simply the easiest way to make a podcast. Let me explain. It's free. There are so many creative creation tools that allow you to record and edit your podcast right from your own cell phone and your own computer. Anchor then does the hardest part for you. They go ahead and distribute your podcast so it can be heard on Spotify, Apple Podcasts, and so many other platforms. Now, I think it's everything you need to make your own podcast in one place. So what are you guys waiting for? Go ahead and download the free Anchor app today and head on over to anchor.fm to get started. Have fun. Hey everyone, welcome back to all my listeners. Hope you're all having a great day so far. And if it's your first time finding me, thanks so much and welcome. Welcome to episode 8 of my 4th season. Today is Wednesday, October 20th, 2021. My name is Sonal Patel, and this is the Paint the Medical Picture podcast series. Now, we're already into the 3rd week of October, and it's 39 degrees as I record this episode. Yes, that's what I said, 39 degrees. But you know what? I love it. I know all my friends in Florida and Texas are like, ha, jokes on you, Sonal, for living in Chicagoland area. But you know what? I wouldn't trade this for anything. Fall is my favorite season, and I simply love the cool, crisp air that makes those leaves turn color. Love it. I love it so much. All right, and of course, I'm still decked out in pink every day this month to raise awareness for Breast Cancer Awareness Month in the United States. For me personally, this is a cause near and dear to me every single month of the year, but I want to pay particular attention to breast health in any way I can during this month. That means, please, all of you, go on ahead and check out my LinkedIn page. My daily posts are blazed in pink and will help you navigate the best treatment sites across the country, journal articles I'm posting, or whatever it is that I will be sharing. Just know it will be relevant and helpful to raising awareness for maintaining breast health at any age. It's a must. So let's get right into today's show. Now, in my compliance tip today, I want to bring us back to basics when it comes to reading LCDs. And hey, check out who's on today's Newsworthy with me. I've rolled out the red carpet and have some fun with my friend, Kimberly Jolivette-Williams. And I round out today's episode with a remarkable quote on illumination from Anne Frank. If you've checked me out on LinkedIn, you know I'm all about compliance and protecting our physicians and valued healthcare professionals when it comes to the business of medicine. I hope this week with me brings you enough to take back to your organizations, to want to dive in deeper, to use my tips and best practices to ensure success. I hope this podcast will help you boost the quality of documentation capture and improve coding accuracy as you help your providers paint the medical picture. If you like what you're hearing, go ahead and hit that subscribe button now so you don't miss another episode. Please write in a review and kindly drop me a 5-star rating on Apple Podcasts or wherever you listen to my podcast. I'd really love your support. And as always, a friendly disclaimer. Remember, I'm bringing you the news, current healthcare industry news, my compliance tips and recommendations based on my over 10 years of experience in front office, back end, coding, and billing for multi-specialty physicians, compliance, and auditing for both E&M and surgical operative reports. These are my opinions alone and are not to be construed as legal advice. So, let's get into a very special Newsworthy that features my guest today, Kimberly Jolivette-Williams. I am so excited to introduce her to all of you. Now, Kimberly has over 20 years of medical auditing, coding, and billing expertise in the medical healthcare industry. She has over 10 years of upper management experience, as well as over 7 years as a medical healthcare educator with Dallas County Community College, Purpose Education, and AAPC Virtual Instructor Learning Training. She's also considered an AAPC subject matter expert. During her distinguished career, she's played a pivotal role in training and coaching staff and medical providers on medical coding, compliance, billing, and auditing services. Currently, Kimberly is employed as a coding, billing, compliance auditor team lead and analyst at Texas Health Physicians Group. She also serves as an adjunct faculty instructor for AAPC and Purpose Education. Now, Jolivette Medic Coding Institute, or JMCI, is Kimberly's career training preparatory institution. She is honored to serve and facilitate students to earn their credentialing certifications in medical coding, auditing, and billing, either on-site and online, as AAPC PMCC approved instructor. Now, Kimberly was approved from the years 2015 through 2020 by the Southern Association of Colleges and Schools to function as an adjunct instructor through Dallas County Community College. Previously, she has served as specialty code lead at Texas Health Physicians Group, as well as business office supervisor at Texas Vascular Associates for approximately 11 years. Now, she has a long list of alphabet soup behind her name, and I love her credentials. She's a certified professional coder, or CPC. She's a certified professional biller, or CPB. She's also a certified professional coding instructor, or CPCI. She's also a certified anesthesia and pain management coder, or CANPC. She's also a certified cardiology coder, a CCC. She's also a certified evaluation and management coder, a CEMC, and she's also a distinguished AAPC fellow through AAPC. She's also a certified professional medical auditor with her CPMA, which is under the umbrella of the AAPC and NAMUS. Now, finally, Kimberly holds memberships with NAMUS, which is our National Alliance of Medical Auditing Specialists. She's also holding a membership with AHIMA, the American Health Information Management Association, and of course, the AAPC. Simply amazing, amazing stuff, Kimberly. Welcome. I'm so glad you're here today.
Thank you. I am so honored to be here today. Thank you so much for having me. I really appreciate it.
Oh, absolutely. I'm looking forward to having some fun with you. I'm so glad I finally nailed you down and could bring you on. We've been working on this together for quite a few months, and with our scheduling, it's been a bit difficult, but here you are, and I'm so happy.
Yay, me too. Yay.
So happy, so happy. Now, I don't know if everybody knows this, but I found you through a colloquium that you had last year, and it was simply phenomenal hearing you teach. I loved it.
Thank you. Thank you. I love it. It was such an honor to put that on during such a COVID time when so many of us were scrambling to be able to know how we were going to get CEUs, being that a lot of our normal local chapters had to close due to COVID and not have those on-site meetings. So it was definitely a very, very big honor to be able to provide that.
I love it. I love it. And you know what? That JMCI, that's all yours. I'd really like to know what inspired you to create that, because clearly through your bio, you're employed, you're working nonstop, but this institute that you created, it's your concept, it's your baby. I would really love to know some more about what inspired you.
Well, thank you. I actually come from a long line of educators, and I really didn't even know that education was my passion until I started to do it. You start to get pulled into different directions, and God is always leading you to where you should be, and you really don't know where it's going to go, but you'll follow. And that's kind of what happened to me. It's truly been my honor to serve doing JMCI. I love to pay it forward. I feel that it facilitates generosity and compassion for others, and empowering new coders and promoting new careers for people is so rewarding. AAPC afforded me and my family so much. Someone invested in me, and I feel it's my obligation to do similar good deeds for others, and to respond to the good deed that it has afforded for me and my family and what we received on our end. So that's exactly why I created Jolivette Medical Coding Institute, to be able to empower others and offer them that alternative. It was an alternative for me because although I have several years of college, I didn't pursue it and finish it to get a bachelor's degree. And so being able to get into AAPC with my certifications have afforded me a career that I was able to do as an alternative to completing that bachelor's degree. So I've definitely been afforded a great reward, and I want to pay it forward to others.
That is incredible. So what a purpose. I'm hearing that you have so much purpose.
Thank you.
For this institute. That's incredible.
Yes.
That's incredible.
Yes.
So now, you touched a little bit upon your journey just then about some of the college, but you didn't go all the way. So can you perhaps, advise some of our listeners here who are younger, who are newer, who are thinking about entering this particular profession? Can you perhaps give your wisdom, your pearls of wisdom on your journey, and what kind of avenues are available to people who don't do the direct, let's go straight through college, let's just have that mindset. Can you give some other ideas on alternatives?
Yeah, definitely. Well, it's funny you say that because I consider myself a raging Cajun Leo. That's what I tell everybody.
Nice.
I'm born and raised Opelousas, Louisiana, and I'm born in July.
Love it.
And so when I was going through my journey, I ended up being a teenage mom at 18. I had my handsome son, Wendell, when I was 18 years old. And now Wendell is 30. And I have a 4-year-old granddaughter who will be 5 on the 4th of November.
Amazing.
And so I have journeyed to say, but when I was going through that, it definitely is a good opportunity for anyone who, like I said, you're not able to finish that college degree for whatever reason. Maybe you're a teenage mom like me, or maybe you just don't have the affordable resources or, monetary resources to be able to invest in college. AAPC is another avenue. It definitely can open up doors. I was able actually to go through a unit secretary program, and that gave me medical terminology and anatomy. So they definitely could, seek ways to get that and then build on that. I was able to get into an industry where I was blessed because I worked for a great, phenomenal vascular group, and they believed in me and they wanted to invest in me, and they paid for my CPC and my CPMA 100%. And so because of that work ethic, again, I wasn't certified. I was working in billing and coding. So again, I want to tell them, don't feel like you can't get a job, and start wherever you can. If you could get in medical records. I did Primacare. That was one of the first jobs I had, check in and check out at a Primacare, which is an urgent care here in the Dallas-Fort Worth area. And so I said, take what you can, but build on it. And then definitely seek out certifications. Those certifications will validate you, and they will also give you that, what I call street credit, right? So that you can go and show yourself, prove your expertise, and just like anything, the doors are going to open up and you'll have alphabet soup just like me, because I tell you that alphabet soup, it just kind of happened up on me in my career. I am a big proponent of, if you're going to teach it or code it, you should be credentialed in it. And so every journey that I've taken, I've tried to do that. So that's where the alphabet soup came from. I felt, let me validate myself. Let me show that I am, I've mastered this by getting the certification, and it has afforded me a great career and an outlet to be able to invest and pour into others.
Incredible. Your commitment is incredible. That's what I'm hearing as your big takeaway.
Thank you. Thank you.
That commitment and perseverance is really what it takes. Hard work is what it takes. It doesn't matter. Just like you stated, if you don't have those financial resources, it doesn't matter.
Yes.
You have to be committed to working hard to find success in any profession, whether it's coding or not.
Yes.
You have to be committed to what you want.
Yes.
So you can find eventual success.
And I tell everybody,
love that.
And I do share that I'm intentional about it. You have to be intentional about it, even to the extent of making sure that my JMCI workshops, like the colloquium and the training you experience, I want those to be affordable and practical for people so that they can be able to, reinvest in themselves. And I definitely am intentional about making that happen.
I love it. And you know what? I love to find people like you, because the quote unquote, like the traditional route is having those classes and workshops through the AAPC. But you can also supplement that wonderful education by finding folks like you who are certified educators. So the curriculums that you develop are going to be a little bit different than what is offered by the AAPC. So I think combining both sets of educations just makes a person more well-rounded. You get so much more instruction, and you become therefore much more valuable by just affording yourself that kind of opportunity to really finding people like you who do make other opportunities affordable for people to receive their CEUs or to just continue learning, even if it's without a CEU. It doesn't matter. Right.
And I do tell people that I try to tell all my students, a lot of times they do get caught up on the CEUs, and people love to say, oh, I want free CEUs. And I'm like, don't get caught up in the CEUs. Make sure you learn the education. Make sure you're retaining the education and the information, because that's what's the most valuable. That's power that cannot be taken away from you. No one can take away something that you've educated yourself on, whether you get a CEU or not. And it will help you, to get that next step in your career, because now maybe you'll know a little more than the next person. So I definitely promote that. Yes.
Absolutely. That is so spot on. So well said. We can't just be gobbling up those CEUs, right? We need to be furthering our education month after month, even if that CEU is not attached to that fabulous presentation. It does not matter. I agree with you wholeheartedly there. Incredible. Incredible, Kimberly. Wow. Now, you know what? This was perfect timing. This was kismet that I'm able to hold you down for today's session, because I got in the mail, of course, the AAPC's monthly magazine, Healthcare Business Monthly. And what did I find? I found this little article with you and a few other people who contributed on CO22. So I really want to hear, what is CO22? I want you to put a spotlight on this important information for all of us in this field, because it's not really talked about very often. So when I opened it and read it, I was like, I have to bring you on. So I'm glad you're here.
Yes. Well, thank you again for having me. And what it is it's a denial code, the CO22. And it's the denial code that says this care may be covered by another payer per coordination of benefits. And when we decided on this topic and the article was written, it was funny to me because it kind of was personal. It touched home for me, because I am a blended family. So my daughter is not my biological daughter. She's my bonus daughter. And my son is not my husband's biological son. It's his bonus son. And so in that, there were times as a blended family, oh my goodness, depending on our lives, we had various insurance. My daughter may have been covered by her mother. My son would be covered by his father, or they may be covered by me, and it was important that when we go to offices for visits, we had to make sure we get the right insurance. And if claims were not submitted properly based on the birthday rule or whatever was applicable, then that could cause denials. The coordination is dependent on who that custodial parent is, or what parent spends the most time with the child that has that coverage in place, right? And so that was just so personal to me, being that we are a blended family. And, there's always an exception to every rule, depending on what your divorce decrees may say, or what your child support orders may say, because the court has a right to implement whatever they need to, right, in order for the best interest of the child. So just in case that wasn't confusing enough, we go and get married, right? And so then my husband's like, I'll put coverage on the kids. Or I was like, oh, I'll keep coverage on the kids. And, just that whole mix, it was just crazy. So it's important that as for the CO22, that okay, who should be primary, who should be secondary, or even if you have more than 2 coverages, you're blessed. Like with my family, with the bonus family, you make sure who's titulary. You have to know what coverage needs to be filed, and you need to be a champion for your doctor's offices. They work so hard and they try to get it right, but it's nothing for us to help them out. So if United Healthcare should be primary, go ahead and tell them that. Or Blue Cross is secondary, and then your Cigna is tertiary. Give that information to them so that you can champion them along to make sure your benefits are filed correctly. And because it's just important that that is done so those denials don't happen. Because I tell you, if you're like me, I was like, I don't want the bill. We're paying for premiums for the insurance. I want them to pay the bill. Exactly. So I need to make sure the right bill get to the right insurance company so that payment could go over smoothly.
Exactly. My goodness. When I read that article, I was like you. I was like, what do you do about the kids in a divorce situation? Yeah. So you got me there. Yeah. And I just left my previous employer. So I had Cobra for a bit. Yes. And I just got health insurance with the new company that I'm working for. Yes. So that article really hit home for me in both of those spots. I said, wow, this is great. And I needed you on to explain it, because even when I started this career, I was a biller. So I was well aware of CO22 years ago. Yes. But you know what? I haven't seen many articles like this put out since I started over a decade ago. So I thought this was really timely and perfect, because it's still incredibly important to understand our coordination of benefits. Everyone needs to know who comes first, who comes second, who comes third. So can you please reiterate for us again, when a patient has either Medicare or commercial and like a Medicaid plan, what order should that go in?
And it kind of depends, because some Medicare people are still working. And so you may, although you may be on Medicare, you may be working and have insurance through your employer. So it's just important to know what your situation is. I don't know if it's a cookie cutter rule, this one's first and that one's first, because all circumstances are different. So again, if you're Medicare and you're not working, then of course your Medicare is primary. But if you get involved where you now have a Medicare Advantage plan, you don't have that traditional Medicare, well, then that one would be primary. Or if you're working and you're still on Medicare, or what if you're under your husband's insurance and you're on Medicare? So it's a lot of different factors, but what the most important thing is, you need to have onus and make sure you know who is my primary, who's my secondary, who's my tertiary, and again, champion those relationships with your providers and those facilities to make sure that they're following them correctly.
That's really well said. Now, you know what happens when our patients come in with their, pocketbook open and they throw out 3 different cards? They, as a patient, have no idea, which coverage takes precedence.
Yes. And so that's when we have to get involved in being that supporter. That's where that generosity and compassion that I spoke about earlier comes in, because you're right. An 80-year-old patient, she may not know. I think of my grandmother and my mother, they may not know. And so we can get on and we call and we know things like the birthday rule. You want to know whose birthday is first, and that's only the month and the day. That doesn't factor the year. You want to know things like that, because that's going to help you be able to help that patient if they were, in a situation like that, or if they're on their husband's insurance. The birthday rule, of course, is more for the dependents and the children. But if you're on your husband's plan, who's primary, if you're a working person, if you're not working, we can get on with the insurance companies and we can find out and do that coordination for them. I think it's nothing wrong with going online. Now, everything's at our fingertips, right? So we can go online, pull up their United Healthcare website, find out who is the primary, who's the secondary, and you could do that in a matter of 10 minutes with what's at our fingertips now with the internet. So I say no, champion them on, embrace, do generosity, and help those 80-year-old patients to find out who's primary, who's secondary, who's tertiary, because you're right on. They're not going to know. Most of the times they're not going to know.
Amen. I love it. We have to be, so proactive on the front end. Absolutely right. And we have to just take control. And like you said, we have all of those tools available on the different provider websites. So excellent takeaways.
Yes.
So I hope my audience can understand that it's incredibly important, probably one of the most important things that happens on the front end.
Absolutely.
So these claims don't get held up with that CO22 denial, right?
Yes. I had a physician that used to say it takes all of the oars in the water, all the oars in the boat to keep it flowing. So
exactly.
Yes, you're the registration and front end people need to know that their position and their role is just as valuable as the coder, just as valuable as the biller, because if they don't get that right at the front end, it's just a domino effect. So we want to make sure they know you are valued. Your role is just as important. So make sure you're doing it with excellence.
I love it. My goodness. Incredible. You can hear the passion in every sentence that comes out of you. That's amazing. I love it. I love it. So I hope my audience will get all of the importances here of making sure you don't receive those CO22 denials anymore.
Yes.
I love it. I love it, Kimberly. Now, I know our time is short. So before you have to go, I really want to know, what are you still striving for in this career? Where am I going to see you, Kimberly, in the next 5 years?
I tell you, wow, when I think of the next 5 years, I'm like, oh, wow, I'm trying to just get through tomorrow. But right now, I definitely have an interest in inpatient. And in compliance, of course, because that's my new journey. So I definitely see myself trying to attain those two credentials, that CCS or that CIC, and that CHC or that CPCO. So I'm sure those are coming in, and even teaching them, because of course education is my passion. I love pouring into those other people, and I like to tell them, sharing my Kimberlyisms.
I love it.
And putting those on them. That's what I love to call it with my class. So and just teaching in those areas, and just medical billing, auditing, and coding arenas have been amongst the more in demand during this pandemic, despite the economic fluctuations we've seen. So I know that it's going to be something with just championing on more credentials so that I can make sure I'm still pouring in and empowering others.
Incredible. Well, I know you're going to tack on more alphabet soup, and you're going to do it with so much love and commitment. I love it. I love it. So you know what? I think you're a phenomenal teacher. So if you could tell my audience where they can find you, how can they maybe join one of your seminars, a webinar, or something like that? Where can they find Kimberly?
Definitely. Well, my website is training.jmcipro.com, and that's for Jolivette Medicoding Institute, LLC. And it's funny you ask. I have the colloquium is coming up here in a month. It's going to be November 6th and 7th, and it's all virtual. So I have the virtual platform being created right now. It'll be hopefully even better than it was last year, because that is my goal, is to always do better and improve based on that feedback that I get. So that will be November 6th, 2021 and November 7th, 2021. I have 16 amazing presenters that's going to present to us, and we're going to have coding games, and we'll have Q&As, and it'll be fun. And so I'm on all social media platforms as well. So they can find me on Facebook, LinkedIn, YouTube, Instagram. They can just Google Jolivette Medicoding Institute, or even my name, Kimberly Jolivette-Williams, and it should come right up for them. And definitely email me if they have any questions at KM, V like Victor, MW at jmcipro.com, or even call me at 888-407-3732. That's all my good contact information, and I would love to hear from them and support them in any way that I can.
I love it, Kimberly. I'm going to make sure I include all of these details in my show notes for you.
Thank
so
you.
People can reach out to you. Okay.
Oh, thank you. Thank you. It's my honor to serve them.
Oh, thank you so much. Now, before you go, is there anything else that we didn't get to in this podcast that you'd like to leave my audience with before you have to go?
I have a wonderful quote that I love, and I keep it on my Facebook page. It's on my business Facebook page, and it's at the end of every email that I send. And I put it in there because it's a constant reminder for myself, but I love to share it with others. And it's called The Essence of Destiny. And it just says, watch your thoughts, for they become your words. Choose your words, for they become your actions. Understand your actions, for they become habits. Study your habits, for they become your character. Develop your character, because it will become your destiny. And that's all I have. Thank you for having me.
Beautiful, Kimberly. Thank you so much. Thank you. And now it's time for my best practice tips in Trusty Tip. So in today's new Back to Basics compliance tip, I wanted to focus on reading LCDs. In my experience and in my opinion, I do not see the LCDs, those are our local coverage determinations with the MACs, that's our Medicare Administrative Contractors, being effectively utilized when coding is performed. When we have procedural services being rendered and our payer is Medicare, the LCDs for our particular location is key. So are you in Texas or Maryland? You should be looking to Novitas. Are you residing in California? You should be looking to Noridian. Do you hang out in Florida? Look to First Coast Service Options. Are you in Michigan? Go ahead and look at WPS. Here with me in Illinois, look to NGS. And how about all my friends in South Carolina and Georgia? Make sure you review Palmetto GBA. And all my peeps in Ohio, make sure you're looking at CGS. So let's just take one example. I pulled visco supplementation therapy for the knee. Now, each jurisdiction might have a little different title, but the point is, this LCD is for the injections to the knee and all of the CPT and HCPCS codes that may correlate with this type of service. So it's critical to review the three main headings under coverage guidance. Those headings are number 1, coverage indications, number 2, limitations, and finally, 3rd, medical necessity. Then the LCD may go further and talk about some history or some background or some general information. So let's dig into covered indications. So at the LCD I'm looking at here, it states visco supplementation therapy for the knee via intra-articular injections of hyaluronic preparations will be considered medically reasonable and necessary when all of the following conditions are met. And they actually provide you with a list of these items, of these conditions. So it's very important that providers understand and are made aware of these covered indications for their Medicare patients. And then, of course, the LCD will also provide you with a long or a short list of limitations. In the case of these types of knee injections, the list is very long, in my opinion, with 10 for the LCD with First Coast service options in Florida. And finally, this LCD closes with the language, quote, as published in the CMS IOM Publication 100-8, Medicare Program Integrity Manual, Chapter 13, Section 13.5.4, an item or service may be covered by a contractor LCD if it is reasonable and necessary under the Social Security Act, Section 1862A 1A. Contractors shall determine and describe the circumstances under which the item or service is considered reasonable and necessary, end quote. Right? So the driving force is, of course, the medical necessity. And that is, of course, even further detailed in the corresponding section on documentation requirements. Here, it tells you to, quote, please refer to the local coverage article, billing and coding, viscosupplementation therapy for the knee, for documentation requirements that apply to the reasonable and necessary provisions outlined in this LCD, end quote. Now, I'm dating myself here, but this article, this LCA, is newer. I was used to seeing only the LCD itself containing all of the CPT and HCPCS and diagnosis codes all on one document, along with the coverage indications and limitations. So I hope this small series on the back to basics of reading your LCDs has proved to be important. It's fundamental if you have Medicare as a payer to keep your eye on LCDs and make sure you are adhering to them to ensure you are meeting the medical necessity from the very start. When the documentation paints the medical picture with clarity and vibrancy from the onset of care, a certified medical coder can then abstract codes with accuracy. And finally, in this week's inspiring quote in Spark is from Anne Frank. Look at how a single candle can both defy and define the darkness. Amazingly true, right? I think this is a perfect quote that reminds us, inspires us on the significance of illumination. This impactful statement reveals the power of illumination. This statement shows us that just one light, just one person with that light has the power to be brave. This single light has the strength to push through the darkness. It also has the force to reveal the darkness that it came from, that envelops it. I think this is an incredible quote that allows us to embrace the illumination within ourselves, to keep being brave and forging ahead, both defying and defining the darkness that we are capable of escaping when we cherish and radiate that light from within. I am happy Anne Frank's spark still burns brightly in all of us today. So that wraps up today's episode. Please go out and make this a great day, an incredible week for yourselves. Aim a little higher, do a little more, and give back in any way you can in 2021. There's so much each one of us can do. Now, in my final note, I just received my ICD-10-CM 2022 coding book last week. Yep, it's a bit late. It arrived much later this year, and I'm actually still getting used to it because I've never used the publication from Optum 360. But I can say one bonus from the AAPC version I've been purchasing for years is that this version actually has all the chapter guidelines in the very front of each and every chapter. That's awesome and so very handy. So I hope AAPC may consider shifting their version as well, instead of housing all the chapter guidelines in the very beginning. So we have to keep flipping back and forth. So hopefully they'll consider shifting. Anyway, just want to let you all know I'm happy that my code book finally arrived. As always, I appreciate you diving into today with me. And if you want more information from me, go ahead and follow me on LinkedIn. I'll leave links to everything in the show notes below. Please continue staying safe and healthy, practice safety for one and all during our collective, seemingly never ever ending life and times of coronavirus. Don't forget, our public health emergency status has been extended another 90 days. So, thank you all for listening in on today's very special episode, and I hope every week with me brings you closer to helping your providers paint a masterpiece. See you next Wednesday.